Well, 2019-2020's federal budget was released a week ago, meaning experts have now had the necessary time to go through it and figure out what these changes will mean for Canadians. And we're hearing some new regulations could be making it easier for first-time home buyers, which is welcome news to those looking to purchase their first home. So joining us to talk all about the new measures is Clinton Wilkins of Centum Home Lenders Limited. Welcome to you, Clinton.
Thanks for having me this morning.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in a little early. You had mentioned before, this is something you've talked about at length many times. It's something I'm a little interested in as someone who has not purchased a home. So you're going to take us through it here. You're going to make me understand this a little bit. The first thing I want to know is, in terms of the federal budget, what's there that's really going to help first-time home buyers to get their foot in the door?
Well, I think it's a really exciting time for first-time home buyers. I think home ownership is part of the Canadian dream. And I think it's very realistic here in Halifax and Atlantic Canada for home ownership. There's other areas of the country which it's a little bit more of a challenge, but we do have an advantage here because our cost of real estate is quite low compared to other regions. And there's some exciting news that's come out of the federal budget. So, for example, they've extended the first-time home buyers plan. They're able to borrow from their RRSP now up to $35,000 and $70,000 per couple, which is really exciting. So you're able to borrow from yourself tax-free. You get the tax benefit for putting the money into your RRSP, and you can borrow it as a first-time home buyer tax-free, which is great. They also give you 15 years to pay that money back into the RRSP, which is really wonderful. It really, enables people who were really good at saving to basically borrow from themselves.
Right.
There's some other changes that they've also announced. They've announced that there's going to be an equity incentive that's going to be done by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. So that's going to be available down the road in the fall, where they would contribute 10% for a new construction home or 5% for a resale home for households with a maximum income of $120,000. So it could really reduce the actual cost of borrowing because it would be an interest-free loan, and there would be no payment for that loan. But eventually, that equity position would need to be paid back. If someone were to refinance down the road, or if they were to sell their home, they would need to pay back that interest-free loan from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation.
And those loans, are those some of the biggest hurdles that first-time home buyers or home buyers in general face in terms of purchasing a home? Is that one of the biggest obstacles that they kind of have to get through? And obviously it sounds like a no-interest loan would really sort of help that.
Yeah, the home buyer would still need to put up a minimum of 5%. And, sometimes that can be a challenge. The 5% can come from, their savings. It can come from their everyday savings or their investments or their RRSPs. A lot of home buyers are looking to family to help them out as well. So for first-time home buyers, gifted down payment is huge. It can be gifted from mother, father, brother, sister, which is really helpful. And we also have a borrowed down payment solution that could be accessed. So that could be potentially a cashback program, line of credit, credit card or loan. I mean, that's a little bit less ideal, but there are options for first-time home buyers to get into the market. I think spring is a great time to think about home ownership. It's typically one of the busier real estate markets. I can tell you here locally in Halifax, the market's really good right now. On average, the house prices went up about 4.5% last year, which is a steady increase. And it's a lower increase compared to maybe some of the other areas of the country over the past, few years. I think, getting pre-approved is a great solution. I think in the spring, when people are going out to start looking at homes and the market starts heating up, having a pre-approval in hand is definitely very valuable because when you make an offer, you can make an offer with confidence that you know that you can get an approval. And typically, with a pre-approval, what we'd look at is, income, assets, and credit. And, in terms of assets for the down payment, that's one of the big things that we would look at in terms of getting a pre-approval in place.
You mentioned it being coming up on a good season to be thinking about buying. For people who are renting, what are some of the real benefits to purchasing a home versus continuing to rent? I mean, somebody who maybe has been thinking about it for a while, but really needs to kind of be taken over that hump into thinking that maybe they should be buying a home. What are some of the main benefits?
I think that when people are looking about, buying versus renting, it's really around maybe the servicing costs. So, is it cheaper to own on a monthly basis than rent? I think that's huge. But I think also paying yourself first, really has a lot of value. With a mortgage, it forces you to pay down the debt. And, we're also look at, the real estate should appreciate. Like, as I said, in Halifax, the house prices went up 4.5% last year. So if the house price continues to go up and you pay down the debt, increasing your net worth really on a monthly basis as you pay down the debt, which is really great.
Like you said, it's part of the Canadian dream. I think that's well said, Clinton.
100%.
Really appreciate you coming in. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for having
joining
me.
us. Yeah.
And spring is a great time to get pre-approved. I can't urge people enough. Really speak to your unbiased mortgage professional. And going into the spring, I think it's going to be a busy market here.
Perfect. We've got a board here with all the information if you want to talk to Clinton and his team.